Hi, Monica.
Hello, Virginia. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too. You look beautiful.
Thank you. You look very adventurous.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
So how cute.
Well, I'm so excited to have you here on the Divine Dialogues. And I'm like feeling so blessed that this connection happened through other YouTube channels and collaborators, giving voice to the wisdom of the ages, and then Sarita's channel. And like it's led to this connection. And I just love that kind of thing. So I'm really excited. And I would love you to just tell everyone a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, there's a 1 hour version, there's a 30 minutes version, and I'm gonna give you a 5 minutes version because just related to the work that I did with you. Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, so I I've been a personal trainer for 25 years now. And for me, it's kind of significant. It's like, okay, time to wrap it up. So anyway, and a successful one, it's not like, like I came to United States, I'm half and half. My father is American, my mother is Brazilian. I was born in Tampa, Florida. And when I was almost 4, my dad, that is American, decided to raise me in Brazil, because we were having some issues in this country, a lot of racial tension. Seems like things haven't changed much, but but anyway, he didn't want to raise me in this environment, and I'm glad he did, because I was raised in a society that we don't have so much differences, so anyway, so I was raised with a dad that doesn't even know what religion or spirituality is, and then my mom that it will go all over the place. So I had these two extremes. Okay, so I was raised in a Catholic school and everything, but my mom, I used to go with my mom to this Theo. Oh my gosh, it was based on Blavatsky teachings, very deep theosophic society. Yes. So, just for you to have an idea that I was raised with a little bit of everything, and then, there's a lot of African religions in Brazil. So like I said, it was a melting pot. Okay, so now fast forwarding, when I graduated from college, I moved to the US. I started working as a personal trainer. I was super successful, started training Latin celebrities. I was on TV. I was like, like the whole shebang, And I am very grateful because I got to be very close to this world of celebrities and stuff like that. And I'm grateful because I see the fertility of everything, how that stuff does not bring you happiness, I'm grateful that I lived that, so closely, it's fun. But also I think it's because of the way I was raised. I knew how to separate things, but anyway, so fast forwarding again, 25 years of being a celebrity trainer, I got to a point in my life that I got very deeply involved with non-dualism, and from my heart is more the Course in Miracles because it has like a Christian language to non-dualism, but I still enjoy Hinduism, Buddhism, you name it, but I like to focus now on the teachings of Eckhart Tolle and the Course, very non-dualism. And so for the past few years, I got very involved with that. And I start questioning, what I was doing, the egocentric nature of my work, so for a long time, I was like trying to do this on the side, the spiritual work on the side. Yep. And so it got to a point that I was like, like for a few years. Like I was like, I need to do something different with more purpose, more purpose, more purpose. So a year and a half ago, I started getting I read this book, Tuning the Human Biofield, you know. I felt in love with it, you know, because it was accessing people's memories, you know, and the Course in Miracles is all about, you know, like unwinding your mind back to divinity, right?
Right.
So I felt like, oh, this is something that I can connect to, you know. So anyway, so I went to this workshop where I learned the technique, how to use tuning forks, you know, to tune the biofield. I loved it. And then I went to Costa Rica, came back, the pandemic hit us. So then I start practicing, you know, the stuff and the sessions. I had practiced on a few people before that. And then one day, a good friend of mine said, you know, we cannot leave the house and this and that. And she said, Monica, you know, you can do this remotely, you know. And you see, because she's my friend, I felt comfortable doing that, you know, because of course, the people that taught me the technique, you have to go to an advanced course in order to like get to do that, you know.
Right.
And then she was like, come on, you know about the quantum and this and that, consciousness. I say, yeah, I'm working with your consciousness, not with your body. And you experience that, you know. And so during the quarantine, I started doing remote. And now I like the remotes better than in person, because I feel like it shows more the point for people that this is about consciousness. You know, it's not about me touching your body or me being with you. It's all about consciousness, you know. So nowadays I kind of enjoy more the remote than the in-person. So yeah, so, you know, I just wanted to give you a little bit of my story based on how it led me to the work that I'm doing. So I said, so now I have it clear that I'm gonna go, I'm transitioning from toning people's body to tuning the biofield, okay?
Yes.
Yeah, that is one. Yeah, I was going to say something. And
well, can you tell us more about how this biofield tuning works and what it is, like specifically the, you know, the way that you do it and what the idea is, like in the way that you've explained it to me. And of course you did an amazing life-changing session on me remotely. But I had never heard of it before I met you. So that'll probably be the case with a lot of people listening.
Okay. Well, the technique is called biofield tuning, right? And we work with tuning forks. Okay, see the tuning forks. So just like you tune an instrument, you know, you find out what is incoherent, you know. I do the same thing in the biofield. Okay. We vibrate. We are electric magnetic beings, okay? So we are pure energy. And so we are emitting a frequency, right? So so we are emitting a frequency. A frequency it starts moving into a vibration, okay? And as the vibration starts going faster, it starts speeding up, it gets to a higher frequency. This higher frequency creates energy, you know, so that's why we are energy beings, okay? Because from the frequency, we start slowing down until we became matter, okay? But this matter, you know, it's emitting energy, and this energy and vibration, it's what makes us vibrate our own reality. Okay, right. So we have the planet Earth has an electric magnetic field. okay? You can Google that and look at it. It's a toroid, okay?
Mm.
Now, likewise, we humans have this toroid, the same thing, that is 6 feet apart. You know, coincidentally, we need to stay 6 feet apart nowadays, right?
Right.
So, so what I do is I get the tuning fork and I go in, I go 6 feet away from you and I start entering your electric-magnetic field, okay? And the tuning fork, just like if I go to a piano, it's gonna show me where it's incoherent, okay? Okay, regarding how I pick up the ages, this magnetic field, it's like the trunk of a tree. You know, if you cut a tree, you can tell by the rings the age of the tree. So this is what I'm doing. You know, when I tell you, did anything happen here when you were 5? Did anything happen here when you were around 8? Because I can tell by the area that the tuning fork is sounding odd, you know, that there's an incoherent vibration there, okay? So if you do not remember, it's fine. But by experience, when you do remember, it moves quicker. So then I harmonize your frequency, okay? What else can I say? You tell me, what else do you?
So it's basically like you can tell when things are out of harmony, like when something is disharmonic. And I remember—
Not me, the fork.
Right, the fork. So the fork can tell. And I remember also it's kind of important, like you notice how the fork moves, right? So whether it moves like ahead or behind or side to side, like what can some of those movements signify?
You know, this is very interesting because there are people that I, you know, when I took the course and the teacher was saying, most people, they go what they hear with the fork, you know. The thing is, I'm a very visual person, you know, and this hearing thing, I'm like, you know. So I always like try to align myself, you know. First I meditate, get my feet out of the way. And I always like puzzles and riddles, you know, and it seems like my source, it speaks to me in a way that I connect with, you know. So if you are a person that likes to hear, maybe you're gonna learn this and you're gonna hear the fork speaking to you. I don't. So my source, it speaks my language. I like riddles, I like puzzles, you know. So I'm like, oh, the fork is moving this way, the fork is doing that. So I try, that's why I often was telling you, I am trying to interpret what this is. Like I'm trying to solve a puzzle here. Okay, the fork is doing this and the fork is doing that. And so there are things that are repetitive and I kind of know what it is already, you know, what it's trying to tell me. But because again, I like to feel and I like the visual. So I use my body as an antenna, you know. So there's a lot of times, and I kind of, when I align before, I say, please allow me to use my body as a vehicle for you to communicate with me, you know. So it happens a lot, like my body moves, you know, moves and I interpret between what the fork is doing, what I am doing. I try to solve the puzzle, okay? And if I'm not mistaken, in your session, it was something very unique that my body was going to one direction, the fork was going another, and I was like, I am trying to solve this puzzle here. But then I was telling you how I was feeling. I'm feeling like I'm supposed to go to this direction, but I'm going this. So you know, I try to pay attention to how I feel, and I tell you so we can solve the puzzle together.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
Yes.
And
so,
pretty much every time we were able to. I mean, it was like you would say, this is happening. And did anything, you know, did you have any sense of indecision or like a sense of being pulled backward, like whatever, at different times in different years? And, you know, I think both of us have been doing the work for quite a while of you know, working with intuition, working with our unconscious, and trust is a big piece of it. Like that first thing that kind of comes up. And man, it was just a really deep, resonant experience, because everything that you were saying and what's coming up through your body in the tuning fork, it was like, yes, this major thing did happen then. And just a lot of powerful imagery, a lot of it that I hadn't really remembered since childhood.
And then I feel my heart too, you know, like I feel my heart beating, and I try to pay attention. Okay, is this heartbeat from being nervous? Is this heartbeat from being anxious? Is this heartbeat from being in love? Like sometimes I get, this is a heartbeat of being in love. You fell in love here. You know, so it's kind of fun. It's very interesting for me too. I always get something for myself, because we are all one. And you see all these things, Virginia, that we learn in spirituality, you know, we all one, and you know, like,
Yes.
I'm getting it. I am getting it. You know, when I heal, I don't heal alone. You know, all these things, like I get it, because when I do a session with somebody, I say, oh my God, like I have to pay attention when that happened to me too. And you know, maybe not the same content, not the same form, but same content, you know, or anytime that I feel emotions, I'm very much pay attention.
Right.
You know?
Right. So there are two things that I know kind of were big themes, and something you've talked to me about multiple times that's been helpful for me. One is like this idea, and as we've talked about, A Course in Miracles talks about this, like, but so does psychology and so many different types of therapy. Like basically wherever this original trauma happened, oftentimes in our childhood, if we didn't receive emotional support at that time, we just keep replaying that over and over and seeing any sign, like any situation that happens in that sort of that evokes that same emotion or reaction in us as like the same thing as that original trauma. So can you talk about like seeing things as children, because you've helped me a lot with that perspective.
Yes. Okay, I feel like an example is the best way to understand. You know, okay, I am going to give you two examples. One is the typical, is a different form, but same content. It's just like I was telling you, what is that you're feeling and what memory it brings, right? Okay, so this is different form, okay, same content. Now, I had a case that was the only one, because it is very unusual for you to have same form and same content. So I'm going to tell you this one first, because this was very unique. And it was back during quarantine, you know, it was a remote session. And because it was quarantine, you know, we started having all these new WhatsApp groups, you know, so we did like a Brazilian ladies Course in Miracles group, you know. So anyway, so one of them said, oh, I'm supposed to have a knee surgery, you know. So I told her, say I was still practicing the remote, and I say, listen, do you, if you want, I can tune you, because this way you're going to vibrate, you know, a good frequency. So whenever you go to surgery, you're going to vibrate your best reality. So you're going to have a good surgery, a good result, da, da, da. So she said, yeah, you know, Brazilians, we are into everything, honey. We don't say no to anything. So yeah. So anyway, so I start entering her field, and when it was like around 5 years old, the fork, it wasn't just the fork, like me, my heart started like, and then the fork started going like this, and I'm like, oh my God, this is a little girl, 5 years old, you know. And I said, listen, do you remember anything when you were around 5? The fork is shaking, so I am assuming you're scared, you know. And my heart is racing, you know, like, you know, there's something here. And she said, I don't know, So I say, you don't remember things when you're 5, right? So I said, it doesn't matter. I am going to stay here until the fork brings it's harmonious, right? The frequency, it's back to harmony. But I told her, but if you can remember, it moves faster, because it's like the course says, you bring the darkness to the light, So it goes a lot faster than for us to be like trying to do the work here. So it came to me to say, listen, you have to think like a 5-year-old, not an adult. And even because of the way I was feeling, and I say, even just falling out of a bicycle, can be traumatic. When I said that, she said, oh my God, I can't believe this. It's like, I did fall from a bicycle. And my mother was freaking out. They rushed me to the emergency room, and I was bleeding all over. My mother was hysterical, and to make a long story short, she had a bunch of stitches in her knee.
Oh.
Now, think a 5-year-old watching all this panic. It became a trauma. Yep. Something that if you have an emotional mature adult, which we have a lot nowadays, a mother would say, calm down, everything is fine, you know what I mean? No, she freaked out, it became a trauma.
Yep.
And second, think for a 5-year-old, having stitches is the same thing as having a surgery.
Right. Yes.
So I told her, I say, sweetheart, you go and you calm down this little girl. Tell her that everything's okay. It's just stitches. This is nothing to it. You calm down, you explain that your mother doesn't like blood, whatever. Just calm her down. And I'm going to stay here with the fork until everything is back to normal. But like I said, once in the energy, the vibration, it moves quicker. So it was like this, and then, So anyway, so after that, see, I didn't know the details. This lady was going to have a knee surgery. Yeah. And you know what? I didn't know. She tells me she fell out of a bicycle as an adult. So almost 50 years later, she still carries this trauma. Okay. Yes. So okay. So this was very interesting. It's very unique to be same form and same content. This is unique. Now, let me tell you a story so people can understand how your question of us not dealing with our traumas and forgiveness, it keeps repeating itself. Okay, so I did this session with this young woman, and she has a baby, and then she tells me, oh, please, do with the father of her baby. I say, I really want you to tune him and this and that. I'm like, okay, he's a young man, 30 something, and I'm like, pobrecito, like do this. But anyway, so I did a remote session with him. With her, I did in person. And I did a remote session with him. So I'm like, are you into spirituality? Because I like to know what kind of language do I need to use? What with you is like the perfect session, we can talk about everything, spirituality, vibration, whatever. But he said, he's not into spirituality. So I say, do you understand psychology? And he said, yes. Okay, so I use more a term in psychology. Okay, so I go, here I am with my tuning, with my fork, right? And then the fork starts going like, so my body goes like this, the fork goes like that. And I'm like, so I can remember the exact, 3, I remember, it was 3. So I tell him, I say, listen, this is around 3 years old. Not everybody remembers this, right? So I say, I'm sorry, it's around 3 years old and the fork is moving, I'm moving. It's like you pushing something away, So, so he said, I don't know, I don't remember. And I say, no problem, I'm gonna stay here until everything's normal, However, if something pops in your mind, you let me know because it moves quicker, and then you can understand, and then, moves faster. So he didn't remember, he didn't say anything. And then again, pop into my mind to say, do not think as an adult, think as a child. You are 3 years old and you're pushing something away, like, say, it can be as simple as being force fed, something simple like that. And if for a child, see, that responds to your question, so we make everything so big, because when an adult doesn't have emotional maturity, it makes a little thing a monster.
Yes.
And then it becomes a trauma. So I told him, I said, it can be something as simple as being force fed. When I said that, he said, oh my God, he said, it was, those things in the family that people talk about it all the time when you were a kid. Oh, because she was this or she was that.
Yes.
Well, it was a thing, to say how messy it was to feed him, how problematic he was. When the mother needed to feed him. So it became a thing,
Right.
So it's like, let's say you didn't like to go to school, so everybody start talking how Virginia didn't like, was you see, because you make that problem bigger.
Yep.
Because when you ask, I say, why you don't want to go to school, and then you little by little with love, and you go with emotional maturity. But in this case, no, instead of dealing with that, it makes the problem bigger, and then from a little problem, it becomes a trauma. Okay?
Right.
So that became a trauma. So I am being forced to do something.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but I mean, it could have been other things. He could have an eating disorder. You know what I mean? So it all depends of how a child perceives that situation, So in his case, he was perceiving as being forced to do something he doesn't want to.
Right.
Okay? So then I go through his field. Okay. So this is 3 years old, and I don't remember the numbers after that, but let's say I go when he was 7, and I say, okay, it's doing the same thing. So you see, then it becomes a pattern.
Yeah.
When I see this more than 2 times, it becomes a pattern. Why? Because nobody ever healed that emotion.
Right. And so then we just keep perceiving any pattern that could come up that could be similar to that from those same eyes of when the original trauma took place.
And what spiritual non-dualism spiritual path says, judge not.
Yes.
Judge not. Because when you're judging, you're making it bigger. You're validating, you're making it real,
Right.
Everything is an illusion, right? But by validating, by judging, you're making it real and growing, So anyway, so then I tell her, so okay, what is it here at 7? Like you being forced to go somewhere or do something. Well, make a long story short, it was a school, he didn't like it, and he had to go to that school. Okay. I move on. When he was a teenager, okay, same thing. When he was a teenager, So I go when he was a teenager, okay, same thing again. There goes a pattern, okay, and he tells me that his family moved to a not so nice neighborhood, and he hated it, and he didn't like the neighborhood. He didn't like the people in the neighborhood. So you see, so he became to have these patterns of being forced to be in a situation he didn't want to. Okay. So now we get to his current life, and his girlfriend becomes pregnant, and he is into a situation that he doesn't want to be in.
Right. So what happens after you clear these disharmonic sort of like patterns that are causing this to repeat?
Yeah, that goes to a common question, which is, okay, once I do that, does it goes away or it comes back? Okay, it's both things, and it all depends of your homework. And that's why I told you, if after this memories pop up, do your work of forgiveness, realizing, the recognizing what it is, recognizing that we're making this up, recognizing that we're making it bigger than what it is. And if we don't stop now, it's just going to grow, so that is what the course is, true forgiveness, recognize the illusion that we are making it, right? So I'm going to give you two examples. An example that if you do your homework, it heals. And if you don't, it doesn't. Okay, so here go, two examples. One, I did this tuning in this guy that I met in the retreat in Costa Rica. And he was always standing up. We would do activities together in the group, and he was always standing up, and how we hug and this and that. He was always like isolated, so anyway, he an amazing, beautiful guy, so anyway, so then towards the end of the retreat, we were exchanging services, and I did a tuning on him, and it was a lot of stuff, but just to make the point that I'm trying to respond to this, goes away forever, it comes back. So I am like in a point in his life, and I feel like bad back pain, like and I said, do you have back pains? And he said, oh yes, I suffer, for years, because of a motorcycle accident. I say, no, it's not a motorcycle accident. It's this over here, The thing is, Virginia, he had a life-changing decision at that point, okay? And a life-changing decision, it's what sustains you, and what sustains your body is your back, okay?
Right.
So but the beauty is, this guy had done a lot of healing, holistic work. He was into access bars and all these modalities. So he knew what I was talking about. You know what I mean? Because if I talk to a normal person, I say, come on, it was the bike accident. You know what I mean? But the thing is, that's why I call this quantum healing facilitation, because I'm not healing anybody, I'm facilitating it. But that's why I call quantum, okay? Because quantum is for you to recognize the essence of what it is that you're making it true, okay? So the motorcycle accident is the validation of a Newtonian way of looking at your life.
Yes.
So it's cause and effect, okay?
Yes.
So if you keep blaming in a Newtonian way, okay? Because he understood this when I said it. If you keep blaming the motorcycle accident for this, you're gonna stay in this Newtonian way in 3D dimension, okay? Yes. Now, if you understand that this back pain came from something, this guilt that you were feeling of a life-changing decision, okay? Or whatever other feelings it was there, that is a quantum way of looking at a problem, okay?
Yep.
So he understood. I stayed there for a while, and okay. So the next day, I think we were wrapping up, and people were hugging and this and that, and he came to me the next day at the end, and he said, Monica, I have to tell you one thing. I said, the reason why I don't used to hug people or sit down with everybody is because I couldn't. It will hurt me, I couldn't, And he said, here I am, I'm hugging, I'm sitting, you know. And I told him, I say, please, anytime that you feel a tiny pain in your back, do not do what you usually do. Oh, you know, like the victim of the world, because the Course in Miracles says, I am not the victim of the world I see, right?
Yeah.
So say, do not make yourself a victim. You remember where it came from. You forgive yourself. You
Yes.
forgive everybody involved and move on with your life, you know. But I mean, I spoke to him a lot about this, you know, but he understood this because he has done so much other work similar to this, right?
Right.
So a month later, he texts me from Costa Rica. I'm back in Miami, quarantine. And he tells me, I say, Monica, I have to tell you that I've been all over Costa Rica in buses, sitting down, and this is new to me. Like I could not before sit down this long on the bus, you know, bumping roads, you know. So that filled my heart, you know. And I just kept talking to him, you know, like, you just keep doing your work, keep aligning your mind, keep forgiving anytime that something shows up. Okay. Now, to give you another example so people can understand, you know, that the answer to that question is yes and no. Okay. So I had this other session that of a person that do not understand any of this woo-woo thing or spirituality or vibration, frequency, none of this stuff. And but I kind of, you know, she was open to it, you know, and I gave it to her for her birthday, you know. So okay. So same thing, you know, like she's been suffering from back pain. Mm-hmm. And I didn't say anything. I say, ooh, I'm gonna find out where the back pain comes from, you know. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want her to get disappointed if I couldn't, you know. So anyway, so I go and get to a point that I feel back pain, you know. And I said, okay. I said, you know, your back pain comes from this. And it was a time that she had purchased an apartment, you know. So again, the spine, the column, the spine is your structure in life. Yep. So when she bought that apartment, she felt like a mature woman, you know, like you know, like I'm becoming a woman. I'm responsible. I'm buying my own house, you know, right. My own apartment, you know. And so anyway, so the thing is, she had just gotten married, you know. She put that apartment for sale, you know, and she's buying a house with her husband now, you know. So what I was interpreting with what I was feeling is that she was attached to that apartment. Yes. Because of what symbolizes to her. Right. It symbolizes her independency, her womanhood, you know, and all these things that, you know, it stabilizes you. Yep. So now you have to give up on that. That's why detachment is so important in non-dualism spiritual path, you know. Yep. So I kind of said something to her to this effect, you know, but then again, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so anyway, so she felt a little better the next day because I kept in touch with her, you know. Yeah, I'm feeling better, you know, but then the next week, oh no, you know, it's because I've been sitting down, I've been working from home. You see, so now you go back to a Newtonian way of looking at the world, and you validating the form, you know, the content, and you just make it grow. Okay. Yeah. So if you keep your three-dimensional mentality of a Newtonian way, you know, you go back to validate your life, your point, you know, of view, your perspective, you know. And so anyway, I just wanted to show with these two different examples, you know, because I because I kind of told her, you know, if you feel back pain, just let go of that apartment. Just be happy. You're letting go of that apartment. It's a new life. You know, you have a new life now.
Yep.
And da 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 da. But I did my best. But like I said, again, it's somebody that never did this kind of thing that we do. This
Yeah.
work that we do.
Well, because trust, I mean, trust is such a big part of it. And I mean, for me today, like we were talking and, you know, I said, right now I'm feeling anxious and worried because my cat Lady is outside and she's never been gone for this long. And even though I feel like I have this deep intuitive knowing that she's okay, like I have all this anxiety and worry. And you were like, okay, well, let's do this. And like, you know, I mean, first of all, you said a prayer and we did a visualization, which was phenomenal. But then we went into it and you were like, I want you to go to the first memory that you have of feeling like this. And it was so interesting because in closing my eyes and when we went there in that moment, it was just like, well, first, because I thought consciously, I was like, well, we've lost lots of animals in my life. Like my family's had so many animals. We've had so many animals, you know, disappear out on the prairie or get eaten by something or like, you know, being in Wyoming. But the first memory that hit like so hard, and I had totally forgotten about this, and I knew this was where it was coming from, was this really strong memory of when I was probably about 3 years old. And I asked my mom to back the car out of the garage so that I could ride my little trike around in the garage. And she ran over my cat, who was named Salt, who actually looks a lot like my cat Lady, like with long white hair. And like the connection was so immediate because it was like, it similar to the sort of story repeated experience I was making about Lady of like, it's my fault that she didn't come back because I should have, you know, only left the screen door closed. And even though I got outside a bunch of times and checked for her, like, it's my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. And that same, and then I realized like, oh my God, like that is actually where this is coming from. Like, but I never would have made that connection if you hadn't stopped and said, where is the original memory that this is coming from? When was the first time you remember feeling this way?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, Virginia, you need to forgive yourself, you know. Yeah.
Because I probably, and because forgiveness is, oh my gosh, that's so funny too, because so yesterday, you know, when she hadn't come back, I was just, you know, whatever, opening in books and just anything to see like, what's my message? What do I need right now? And like forgiveness just kept coming up. And it's funny though, now that you say that, because I was taking it as like, I need to forgive myself for like what I did here, which I didn't really do anything wrong. But I actually think it's like, I need to forgive myself for that original trauma of feeling like it was my fault that I wanted to ride my bike. Like if I just hadn't asked my mom to ride my bike in the garage, then that wouldn't have happened to Salt, you know?
The little girl wanted to ride a bike. Now you're a big girl and you're riding a van.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. And like, you know, so this stuff is really, I mean,
oh my God. Maybe you having feelings from doing what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
So it's connecting
Yeah.
to that.
Definitely. Like I'm not allowed to feel okay about wanting to do what I want to do. So like something has to come back around, you know?
No,
Like,
no, girl. No, we're gonna tune. You see, okay, for the people that are listening, I can tune you with this, okay, your field, and we can do this later tomorrow. But we all can tune our own minds, and that's what non-dualism spiritual path, they do, because they take us away from this dynamic of the third dimension. It takes us away from this. So you can tune your own mind by doing the forgiveness work. The true forgiveness is to recognize that the false is false, that this is an illusion that you've been carrying with you. That guilt is an illusion that you've been carrying with you, and you were making it real, and now you're
validating
the reality of that guilt,
yes.
Which is not true.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is profound. But this is so you just nailed it though. And we'll wrap this up, for now. This will be the first of many conversations I hope that you and I have. I'm so thankful for you being brought into my life. And of course, I'll be linking to your information down below if people want to do biofield tuning with you. I know it's been something very profound and healing for me. And, even just that, that's such a practical tool of noticing how you're feeling about a situation and being able to tune yourself, and just realizing there is somewhere that 3, 5, 7, whatever year old you is seeing the situation from that original trauma perspective. So.
I just opened the book, and I'm just curious to see what I.
Yeah. Do you have share a passage with us, please?
Okay. Okay, I just open on this page, and let's see what it says here. You have received the holy instance, but you may have established a condition in which you cannot use it. As a result, you do not realize that it is with you still. And by cutting yourself off from its expression, you have denied yourself its benefit. Okay, you reinforce this every time you attack your brother or you attack yourself, right? Mm-hmm. For the attack must blind you to yourself. You see, so we can attack a brother, but we can attack ourselves, which is the same thing, because our brothers is a reflection of ourselves, right? Yes. So it's what we were talking about, the validation, okay? And it is impossible to deny yourself and to recognize what has been given and received by you. Okay, girl.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. And again, I so meaningful to me. And I know a lot of people who are going to be watching this, the integration work that you just naturally do with A Course in Miracles and the biofield tuning is really, really healing, and really just brings it home on a whole nother level.
Yeah, that's why I call it synergy, because it integrates my passions of psychology, this inner work, and the quantum physics, so it's an integration, because that's another thing, when I learned the biofield tuning, I was like, okay, I'm gonna call biofield fitness, and stuff like that, because I want to integrate, and I just kept thinking about something biofield fitness and body fitness and whatever, finally I was in a meditation to say, what name can I give? And I was like, okay, and I sit down in meditation, and the synergy name came, and it says the psi is psychology, and then the science, and, and the inner work, so yes. I felt so blessed that day when I received that name. But anyway, I hope people can understand better what this synergy work is, yes. And how each of us can do our own tuning, okay?
Yes.
Because actually the course it's a rewinding the mind, you know, of programming, because the course is unwinding our minds, you know, the program that we have. And this is something that I have a keynote about it to explain to people. But yes, I want you to do your own tuning right now, okay? Please tune yourself until you feel completely that you forgive that girl that wanted to ride a bike, okay? Yeah. And if you need help,
yes. Well, thank you so much for everything, Monica. I'm so glad to have you on the Divine Dialogues. I can't wait to again. I'm sending you a lot of love and gratitude, and I will talk to you soon.
Namaste, sweetheart. Love you.
Namaste.
Thank
Love
you
you
for
too.
the opportunity.